Welcome to the Intuitive Empire Podcast, the place for coaches, healers, network marketers, and awakened souls who are all about creating success on their own terms. We are here to rise, and in doing so, we must honor our sensitive selves, activate our intuition, and lead with light. We are the ones we've been waiting for, the change makers, wayseers, and trailblazers. Join me, Jaya Rose, as we step fully into luminous leadership and create epic, intuitive empires that serve the highest good of all. Ready? Let's go. Welcome back to the Intuitive Empire Podcast. You are chilling with me in my backyard today because I can't stop with the sunshine. Oh my goodness. I live in Portland, Oregon, and it is real. When the sun comes out, everybody comes out. It's like they come out the woodworks, and that's how I feel. I'm obsessed with sitting out here in the sun. So you're going to be hearing my wind chimes and maybe even some wind. But I'm going to talk to you today about desires, but not your desires. Actually, other people's desires, and you opening up to receiving more in your life. Now, receiving and desires are definitely things I talk about. Desires are a whole module in my EMBODY program. And I find that women in particular have such a tough time really getting real about what we desire. Have you ever had this where you want something? You know that you have a dream, you have a next level, you want to call in something into your life. And yet it feels almost like sacrilege or something to actually allow yourself to desire it. And in fact, you may get stuck in the idea of wanting it or in the feeling of want. And I really feel that want and desire are two different things. So to me, want has a feeling of like, I have to have this, or I want it. I don't totally believe I can have it. There might be some disappointment mixed up in it. And desire to me feels like the pure essence of that want. So if you boiled down the want and took out like all of the judgments around it and the neediness around it, then you would just have the pure essence of desire. Like just the feeling that it's magnetic to you. You want this because there is no other way. You desire this next level because it's yours already, because you're meant for it, because the desires that you feel are also feeling you. And one of the things that I've noticed through working with the laws of the universe for 10 years, manifesting my husband consciously, manifesting lots of clients consciously, and really doing just a lot of work around this, is that the more I've opened myself up to allowing myself to be desired, and I'll explain to you what I mean by this, the more I receive and the more easily I receive. But there was a lot of healing that had to be done around desires and men. And so when I was growing up, I recognized that men were attracted to me. I mean, hey, you can relate, right? It's like we know the energy we get from men, and it's really that first stage feminine energy is like, I'm desired for my body and my looks, and this is, not the spiritually enlightened female. It's just the stage one, just how we enter being a woman. And we can choose to grow past that, or a lot of women choose to stay there, and like they see their value as very external. It's their body and it's their looks. And then we move into stage 2 feminine, which is like, I'm smart and I'm capable and I want to be recognized for more than my body and my looks. And yet so many of the habits, depending on how long you stay in that stage 1, which I stayed there for a long time, because I don't know if you've heard me talk about this, but I didn't even believe I was smart. I knew I was intuitive. I knew I was resourceful. I knew I was good with people. I knew I was wise. I knew I was likable. And yet I didn't know I was smart till I was about 36 years old, 37 years old. And part of me was still holding on to the value that I had as being beautiful, as being physically attracted, and really sourcing energy from men because I'm heterosexual. So it could be for women if someone is gay, or whatever sex, if you're trans, right? It's just the whoever you're attracted to, you want them to be attracted to you. So I was very, very much in a locked relationship with what it looked like to be desired. And I used it as fuel for my ego. And the ego really lives in this first stage feminine that says, like, when I'm desired physically, then that makes me valuable. Instead of, well, I'll tell you about the third phase, but then even the second phase, instead of like when I am revered as really smart, when I show my power to the world, that's where the desire comes from. But really being in that first stage, like I said, I was there for so long where, and I'm just going to be real with you because, hey, I've healed this stuff so I can talk about it. Might sound embarrassing to someone else, I don't know, but I remember having a real wake up around this and having some type of interaction with my dad, actually, that brought up this understanding that, like, I used this energy of desire from men to replace this energy that I always really desired from my dad, this feeling of being seen and heard and understood and celebrated by my dad. He wasn't really capable of that. And so I translated it into this more sexual, physical desire with men. And I had a conversation with him actually at the gym. I remember I was on the elliptical, and I can't remember what the conversation was exactly. This was probably about 5 years ago. But I remember that it opened up this portal for me to see myself clearly and to see this toxic relationship I had with desire. Because, I remember though that it was that I was actually able to ask my dad for what I needed. And I asked him specifically for something like, I really need you just to hear me, or I need you to listen to this. And it was this really healing moment. And so that healing actually went deeper. And as I walked upstairs to the weight room, and now you have to understand that I had been a personal trainer for many, many years at this point and been to a lot of weight rooms. And being a curvy, attractive woman in the weight room, what happens is that men look at you. I mean, it's really, really normal. Oh my goodness, hear the wind chimes? Really normal to be stared at in the weight room at a gym. And I came to expect it. And yet I was seeing it differently in this moment because of this new experience I had with my dad and me being able to ask for what I needed. And so I walked up and I was almost like two different people. I had this experience where I saw the men staring at me and I felt the way that I normally would take it, like food almost, like feeding my first level female, my ego mind with, oh, I'm worthy. Because look at the way he's looking at me. And I also had the new awareness and all of a sudden totally outgrew it. Like I outgrew it in this one experience and saw that that wasn't the truth of who I am and that I was more than that, because here I am, a grown woman, totally capable and standing in my truth and power and asking my dad for what I need from a grown-up standpoint, not from a hurt child who just wants attention, right? So I healed this part of myself, and the way that it played out is that it was almost like I was like tripping because I was like on these two different levels. I was outgrowing the first level female and moving into my power in one experience. And it was like the men just showed up for me in this. I could see it all playing out in front of me, where men would look at me and I would think, oh, that's that old paradigm. There it is. And I took it in, but I didn't receive it the same way I used to. And I didn't allow it to validate me. And instead, I just observed it. And as I went through this experience, it changed me. And I can look back now, and you know how you have these pivotal moments in your life where you're like, I feel like this is big, but I don't really know. I don't really know what this, what's going to come of this. And so I think I did. I knew that it was big in the moment. And I don't know that I talked to anybody about it afterwards, but it was in conjunction with me really stepping into my second level feminine, which is claiming your power, which is getting out of the ego, understanding that you are multifaceted and that your smarts and your more internal world is really valuable too, not just your external world. And in fact, it doesn't even feel good as much to just be desired. I mean, of course, by your lover, you still want that no matter what level you're at. But by strangers, what validates you, and do you even need validation from strangers, I think becomes the question. And as I moved into the second level feminine, I actually started to work on allowing people to desire me for the power that I have, for my voice, for my wisdom, for my ability to show up, and for my ability to lead. And that's really that second level feminine. And I spent a number of years in that place, maybe 3 years. And it was all about allowing people to desire me. Because here's the thing, when you put an offer out, when you step up and you declare who you are and you say, okay, this is my next level, here I am, maybe you're selling something, you need people to desire you. If you're trying to build a following online, you need to allow the openness for people to desire you, which means that the focus isn't just on you desiring it. It's not just, hey, I just want a following so badly, or I just want to make money so badly, I just want to impact people so badly, that when you're so busy desiring it, you're actually not allowing the space for it to desire you. Okay? And this is where the third stage of feminine comes in. And the third stage of feminine is about oneness. And it's about spirituality. And it's about understanding that it never was even fucking about you ever anyway. It wasn't about my body. It wasn't about my mind. It was about my soul. And that my soul has a mission here. And that my soul is really the truth of it all. And my soul is connected, right? We are connected right now, me and you. And then us as a collective, we're connected to God, spirit, the universe. And it's that connection to your soul and the larger powers that be that move you into that third stage. And this is where you actually create a movement with your work in the world. And this is really incredible. And so I just want to cite where I actually learned this from one of my past coaches, Ryan Ukomi. And if you don't follow him, he has a really amazing podcast called The School of Soul Wealth. And I watched a live video where he was diving into the 3 levels of feminine. And he actually went through the masculine too, but I'm just talking about the feminine here. And it changed. I mean, it really gave me insight into where I was. And I was like, oh, this all makes sense. So I just want to cite that and really give him the credit for bringing that work to me, to light for me. And in this, I think it's really valuable to understand that our intention is obviously always growth and expansion, but as you allow yourself to be desired, what does this feel like? What does this look like? What is it like to be in the third stage of feminine and allowing yourself to have the desires that you really want? I mean, this is the first step. The first step is understanding what you're available for, what you're open for, what you're here for, what you are committed to. And that is always going to be the first step to really stepping into receiving and manifesting what it is you desire. And yet there's this whole other phase that I believe is not talked about. And I've talked about manifesting for a long time, but I didn't know this because I hadn't moved into it. But what I've seen now, and through really connecting with the higher powers and allowing my intuition to lead my business and really only taking action that feels super aligned and understanding that even if that looks scary, that's what I'm committed to. That's what I'm available for. I see that the more I can be in a receptive state and open to being desired, which sometimes doesn't look exactly like what you think it will, because it might be being desired by a bunch of people who want you but can't afford you. And that certainly happens. Oh my gosh, I need what you have, but I can't afford you. Okay, well, that's like sort of the first level of really allowing yourself to be desired. But when you can allow yourself to be desired by people who are never going to pay you, and you know it, and you're still giving freely because it's your work in the world to give freely in this way, aka putting good content out online. Oh my gosh, isn't that the next step? Because I know for me, when I was more in the second level feminine, I would get I would get defensive and I would get restrictive about my time and energy and think, oh, I know they're not going to pay me. And then I feel resentful about it. And it was this whole like paradox of wanting something but not allowing it in. Because if what you're saying is, I have a movement, I have a message, I have a mission, I'm showing up for it, I'm sharing free content, I'm doing the work to really own that this is my work in the world, and yet you don't understand that many, many, many people are going to desire that and not as many of them are going to purchase it, you're missing a whole boat of receptivity. Because especially if you have an online business, it's important to have people who just follow your content and like comment on it and share it. And they're kind of like your cheerleaders, and they might not buy from you, and that's okay. But to allow that energy to flow allows the other energy to flow. It allows the energy of the people who are meant to come in and be impacted in a greater way by your work. And yet, it's not about you desiring it as much at this stage, because you've planted the seed of desire and the certainty that it's going to happen. And you've declared that you're committed to doing the work to make it come to fruition. And so you don't need to really be in your desire about it. You need to be in the holding of energy that is receptivity and is really damn attractive. And when you hold that energy and you allow people to desire you that aren't going to pay you, and you allow people to desire you by asking you for free advice. Now, please have boundaries. Like, I'm not saying give this away. I'm not saying get on calls with people who aren't going to pay you. What I'm saying is allow the energy to be in your field and watch how potentially, resentful or just uncomfortable it feels to allow that. And that is the key to the next level. That is the key to allowing in more of the abundance and the people who are going to be greatly impacted by what you do. So I want you to really feel into this and recognize, where are you? We go through all different stages, right? The feminine stages, and we could go through all of them in one day. And yet, as you move out of them, I know that as I moved out of stage 1, I don't really live there. I don't really hang out there. I would say I still hang out in stage 2, and that it's really been the last year that I've transitioned into stage 3 and being like fully getting out of my own way and recognizing that my mission is through God and through my intuition, and it's so much bigger than me. And yet sometimes I still get stuck in ego and like, am I good enough? And I need validation, and I want the validation when I do a live video or when I put content out, or hey, this podcast, and I want the validation that it's serving in some way, because that serves me and my level 2 feminine saying I'm powerful and I'm showing up and I'm being validated in that. And yet that's still not the full energy of being receptive, right? The full energy of being receptive is connecting from your true essence, from your soul to spirit, and being supported by the universe. And that's the alignment that when we open up to that, which is not a focus on asking people to buy from you, which is not a focus on desiring something, it's a focus of connection, that we can allow people to desire us. We can allow our following, I do in quotes, to grow. We can allow our sales to become more. We can allow more people into our programs, because we are aligned with something bigger than us, and we're able to hold the capacity for these desires, because it's not stuck in needy want that only really has to do with ego. So I'm hoping that this lands for you and makes sense. And I want you to really reflect on where you are in your life right now. What are you actively desiring? And how can you plant the seed, feel the certainty, and move into the commitment that it is already coming, move into the committed actions that it is already coming, and allow yourself to be desired in that. And allow yourself to be the woman or the man who walks with this power, with this certainty, and with this connectedness. Because it's ultimately that connectedness that allows people to see you and like the pure essence of who you are. And you don't even have to convince them. It's not really about your sales copy and everything that you do in action ways. It's about who you are as you sit on your back porch doing a podcast. It's about who you are as you show up on that call. It's just about who you are. So I want to know, did this resonate with you? Was this a message you needed to hear? Please take a screenshot of this podcast image, put it on your stories, tag me in it, DM me on Instagram. I'm the Jaya Rose. If you're not following me yet, follow me. I do keep up on my stories, and I try and do some fun behind the scenes and stuff with my family, stuff what I eat, but also some good content in there for mindset and embodiment, and truly like getting out of your own way and opening up to your desires by truly being who you are, and the power and all of that good stuff. So that was a very long version of that. But yeah, open up to more possibility of what is here for you, and that you are worthy of being desired in a non-sexual way, in a non-creepy way, in a way that really, really supports your greater mission here. And I also want you to know that the doors to this next round of EMBODY are closing on Friday. And if you feel a call, a pull to do this deeper work, to get out of your own way, to use the laws of the universe, to connect with your energetic system, to stand more in your power, to move into the third level feminine, and to really be connected more to your intuition and to that power that's guiding you, then reach out to me. I'll put a link below. Fill out the application. Let's get on a call this week, and let's do this summer. If you're feeling like you're really in this to win this, and you're ready for your next level, and you're ready for it now, then join us in the next round of EMBODY. So reach out, and just sending you so much love, so much light, and all of the good stuff that you desire is definitely on the way. Just open up to it. All right. See you next time on the Intuitive Empire podcast. Yay. Thanks so much for listening and being here. And if you loved this episode, please take a moment to rate it on iTunes. I feel so honored when I read your reviews, and I would love to feature you on the podcast as a spotlight review. Also, find me on Instagram at Jaya Rose, and I would be so excited to share your story into my story. I just love seeing the feedback and that you're listening. So share it out on social media. Share it with somebody who you think it could benefit, because us showing up for other people is what this is all about. It's a ripple effect of change, and we do that by sharing. So thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time on Bliss Boss Talks.